we just finished doing workouts at the mothership today. Today was the Chuck It checklist, form first, and it's the most fun I've had on the turf in quite a while, just because I like workouts that give the pros the opportunity to step in and correct and help people who've maybe been doing tasks either the wrong way, or just teaching people how to correct and connect two different tasks that are similar, and know the different nuances between the two. Today's workout I designed intentionally to have 2 or 3 tasks very similar in nature and in movement together, but then pick out like 1 or 2 things that are like a subtle difference between the two. And really it came from trying to teach people the difference between yak and mastodon, and then from there I just kind of grew it out fully to teach you a lot of different things. And it was one of those workouts where the entire time I felt like I was working out with each class, because I was always demonstrating, always there to kind of teach somebody my take or what helps things resonate and click for me. And that just makes the workout or the day or the shift a lot of fun, because each class is like a different gift that you get to unwrap and try to teach somebody something new, try to teach them how to get the most out of a slapjack. Like for me today, we had jackalope before slapjack, and I would see how people would do the jackalope, and I would know right away if they were going to have a difficult time with the slapjack just based on how they were doing jackalope. And so I would teach them how to get more out of their first hand placement on a slapjack, and that allowed me to show them how to do slapjack the right way by releasing it after the second throw. But I also took the time to show where they started off with the plate in regards to their feet, and it clicked, because then I saw people, the light bulb go on, and they're like, you know what, now I can do not only slapjack the right way, but I'm able to do jackalope much more effective. So if they got back around to jackalope again, they were able to do it very fluidly and very seamlessly. And it's funny, I kept saying something today in my head is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And that's something I think, I don't know if it started with the show Modern Family. Phil Dunphy, if you're aware of that show, he's like this kind of dopey father, dorky kind of guy he has these sayings that are just really, really funny. And I think he was trying to do like a fire drill or something like that with his family. And they were all like hasty and rushing and trying to get out of the house quickly. And he said, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Well, that's so true with Syphus. If you go slowly and try to work on those movements, each little small movement that accumulates into a harder movement, you're able to do those harder movements more efficiently. So even though you're going slower, maybe on some of the stuff, you're able to complete it more efficiently, and therefore you're doing it quicker. So today was just a blast for me, because we have a lot of newbies here, either from Groupon or maybe some people from Royal Oak are kind of filtering in. It allows me to teach newbies the correct form right away and instill form first mentality from the get-go. But it also allows me to break some old habits of I guess teaching the old dogs new tricks, because something like Yeti or Amarok, there's that extra step that many people take that is it's so second nature that people don't realize they're doing it. And even if we show you as the pro where you're kind of making that extra step, people still don't get it, because it's so ingrained that this is the right way to do it. And it takes a really critical eye, but even I would say an articulate pro to be able to show exactly where that extra step is being taken, and then try to translate it to the person who's doing it, and then be able to demonstrate it effectively so that the person, the junkie who's doing it, knows how to correct it. So a lot of it too for me is I try to bring it back on myself, because if a pro is not able to teach you the finite difference between 2 exercises, or how to maximize a certain movement in a task, that should fall on me directly, because I haven't effectively communicated that to the pros. Now on the back end of your stats site that you guys see, like the task list, the pros can see a written description of each task. And Many times, what I will do if I have this idea for a new task, I will simply hurry up, go over to a computer, type it in, and have myself a brief description, because it's really just a reminder for me to be like, oh, I remember what that task is. I'm going to use it, a couple months from now, and put it in a workout. Well, sometimes I can be pretty forgetful and not type out the entire description as it should be written. So then your pros or your turf owners are only left with this little skeleton of a task, maybe 3 or 4 sentences, or not 3 or 4 sentences, 3 or 4 words, and they're trying to decipher what task it is that I came up with. Like for instance, today I came up with, it's called Jawbreaker. It's a sideways Jabberwocky. So I kind of wrote that, but it doesn't mean that I broke it down into the very finite movements, and then the different, I don't want to say errors, but the ways that it could be cheated. And one of the things that's really important that shouldn't get lost on the pros or other turf owners is that it takes a few months or a few weeks maybe to figure out where those tasks are going to be, cheated or slighted. And it takes some repetition. So not only do we need to kind of see it in its entirety over a course of several workouts and have several people get used to doing the task, and maybe try to figure out the ways to do it and ways not to do it. But I also need to give it a proper value. So a task that's new, initially, it may be overvalued, so it could be inflating scores a little bit, and it could also be the other way around. It could be way harder than I thought it was going to be, and therefore it's making the scores a little bit lower. So really, if you're seeing a new task, I'm still playing with it. I'm still judging what should be the correct form and what shouldn't be. So you got to give yourself a little bit of credit, just kind of being guinea pigs going through the tasks itself. So the reason why I bring that up is because it's tough for a pro to not only have the courage to stop someone like when they're in the middle of their task they're doing, when they're in the flow, they're seeing the board good, they're moving. It's tough for the pro to be like, hey, you're doing an extra step on Yeti. So you got to give the pros a lot of credit. And it also is not entirely the pros' fault if there's something that maybe they do differently from turf to turf. And that falls again on me because I maybe have not effectively communicated the correct way to do each and every task, which is something I'm trying to spearhead with these weekly form previews that you should see either on this channel or somewhere on YouTube. And so, each week I'm trying to show you up to 6 to 15 tasks a week, so that way you know kind of how to do it. But again, if it's new, I got to give it a little time to breathe and grow and see what it is that we're trying to accomplish with it. And really that's how Syphus started, was just kind of testing certain exercises, testing progressions. Some work, some don't. And part of the fun is seeing what does and seeing what sticks. And then we got to go back and kind of show you the correct forms on all of them and give you the task descriptions. But I really would like to applaud all the pros today, especially. Each single task you were probably demonstrating and just waiting at the line, waiting to help somebody out. So not only do you have to be in good shape, but you have to be able to retain and recall these tasks very quickly. So they definitely deserve a lot of credit, and I commend you all for that. One of the things I just really loved about today, especially in the mothership, I said something about teaching old dogs new tricks. It was nice to kind of help out some of the people who've been here the longest. And a lot of them were like, I didn't know that, I was taking that extra step, or I didn't realize I was crossing my feet over on a monkey. And it's just the small little things that it's exciting to still be able to teach somebody who's been doing this so long, because you're always trying to challenge yourself. Like the cliche that I'm seeing on Facebook a lot lately is, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you, or it's something along the lines of that. And what I think you got to find the challenge. You got to find the challenge, and a lot of times that's changing what the small thing that you're just so accustomed to doing. You need to change it up a little bit. And I know that's kind of a theme to a lot of my things, is my little clips, is to change and keep challenging yourself. There's another adage that says, if nothing changes, nothing changes, or if everything stays the same, nothing changes. meaning if you're just going to still do what you thought was always correct, and I guess you don't take that second to ask the pro, hey, is this right? Hey, could you watch my Amarok? Am I doing it right? If you're just kind of going through the motions thinking that you're always correct in that, then you won't know the difference. And that's not necessarily on you, the person doing it. It may be on the pro that needs to kind of find that first. But that's what I would say is I would urge you to ask your pro, hey, could you make sure I'm getting low enough on my crook? Because they're going to be they're going to love to hear that because they want to give you the feedback, and they also want that open invitation to give you such feedback or constructive criticism or what have you. And it was way cool to see just people not only taking the advice, but like slowing down to take the advice. Now, one of the frustrating things can be, let's say someone's doing a curl walk and you tell them that their elbows, are flared out or they're using too much momentum. What's tough for a pro is if you still continue doing the task while the pro is trying to talk to you and teach you how to do it correctly. It's very tough for us to kind of give you that criticism or that critique while you're still moving, and then by the time we're done explaining it to you, you finished it and you want to move on to the next one. So if a pro's kind of teaching you a nuance of a task, it would be great if you slowed down or stopped just to get the advice and correct it too. So, but I know that's tough when you're in the midst of battle and you want to get a score and that sort of thing. But I think if you just take that advice in the moment, it'll make the rest of your workouts better. And in the same vein of having newbies here and all that kind of stuff, especially with our Groupon members, a lot of them will stop and look to the side to see what the next exercise was, and particularly in something like today with Chuck It. It's very tough to do that. So what I'm telling the new people is, it's good to look left and right to maybe jog your memory, like, okay, what's hikes? Oh, that's right, that's what hikes are. But don't necessarily mimic the person next to you, because that person may not be doing it right, they may not be on the right task, or they may be a little bit more advanced than you and doing a technique that's learned over time. So it's best to, you can look left and right to see what the task is, but if you need to know how to do it, make sure you ask your pro, and they're going to show you the most elementary version of it first, and then you'll progress to doing it maybe the more difficult way. And so I think it's just important that you learn it from the pro or the source or the person who's most experienced first, because they should be able to break it down to you to the simplest version, which will help you do the harder version later. So throw all that together. I'm just ecstatic as to what went down on the turf today. I'm sure it happened at your locations too. And just keep an open mind, keep changing, keep challenging yourself, and keep asking your pro for suggestions, and they're going to help you out because they've got the best of intentions in mind for you. And with that, remember, form first.